It was just past midnight in Jeffersonville, Indiana. The house was quiet, three small children asleep upstairs, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound breaking the stillness. But on the lower floor, that silence was shattered. A heated argument had spiraled out of control, words turning into screams, fear turning into desperation. In a matter of seconds, love and rage collided in a way no one could have imagined. By the time it was over, one life would be gone, and three children would wake up to a world forever changed. Neighbors would later say they heard nothing, no cries for help, no breaking glass, just an eerie calm that hung in the air, the kind that makes you wonder how something so horrifying could unfold right next door without a sound. What happened inside that house on March 15th, 2025, would shake an entire community and reveal a story of devotion, jealousy, and unimaginable violence hidden behind a picture-perfect family. Are you ready for the darkest stories Britain has to offer? Introducing our new book, Unreal True Crime, British edition. 35 shocking true murder cases that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Available now on Amazon in paperback and Kindle, or grab your instant PDF download from our website. Links are in the description below. Don't miss out. Get your copy today. And now, let's continue with today's case. Our story begins in southern Indiana, in the tight-knit community of Jeffersonville, where Deborah North and Taylor Meyer first crossed paths through mutual friends. Both were young adults with their entire lives ahead of them, navigating the typical challenges of building careers and planning for their futures. Like many young people in their community, they were surrounded by friends and family who supported their dreams and aspirations. Deborah had graduated from Jeffersonville High School in 2006, and from early on, she knew exactly what she wanted to do with her life. She had a natural inclination to care for others, a compassionate nature that drew her toward the nursing profession. It wasn't just a career choice for Deborah, it was a calling. She couldn't help but be drawn to helping people, and nursing provided the perfect outlet for her desire to make a difference in people's lives. Deborah's dedication to her goals was extraordinary. She attended Indiana University Southeast, the University of Louisville, and Ivy Tech, pursuing her Bachelor of Science in Nursing across multiple institutions. This wasn't because she was indecisive. It demonstrated her unwavering commitment to excellence. She was willing to do whatever it took to achieve her dreams, even if it meant juggling coursework at different schools to get the best education possible. During this period, Deborah and Taylor's friendship slowly blossomed into something more. Their relationship developed gradually, built on what appeared to be a foundation of shared values and mutual respect. They both talked about wanting the same things from life: a loving marriage, children, and a home filled with warmth and happiness. Taylor seemed particularly committed to the idea of being a devoted partner and father, qualities that aligned perfectly with Deborah's vision of family life. Those who knew Deborah described her as having a fierce, unforgettable presence. She had a contagious laugh, a bright smile that could light up any room, and an ability to love others with an intensity that made everyone around her feel valued and seen. Deborah was strong-willed, full of life, and unapologetically herself. She never pretended to be someone she wasn't, and that authenticity made her magnetic. Deborah loved the outdoors and found joy in experiencing everything life had to offer. Whether she was soaking up the sun by the pool during summer, skiing down mountain slopes in winter, or exploring nature trails, she embraced every adventure with enthusiasm. Her vibrant personality and zest for life made her an attractive partner, and Taylor seemed genuinely drawn to her energy and determination. To everyone watching their relationship develop, Deborah and Taylor appeared to be a perfect match. Their friends and family saw a couple deeply in love, planning a future together with excitement and hope. The progression from friendship to romance seemed natural and right. Those closest to them believed they had found their soulmates in each other. In November 2021, Deborah and Taylor celebrated their love with a wedding ceremony that marked what they both hoped would be the beginning of a lifetime together. The day was filled with joy and promise as they exchanged vows, committing to support each other through whatever challenges life might bring. Their wedding represented not just their love for one another, but also their shared dreams of building a family in Jeffersonville. But here's where the timeline becomes interesting. Deborah had actually welcomed her first child in 2020, before their official wedding ceremony. This suggests that Deborah and Taylor had been committed to building their family together for quite some time, and their formal marriage was simply a celebration of a bond that had already deepened through parenthood. For many couples, this wouldn't be unusual. They were already functioning as a family unit, and the wedding formalized what had already become their reality. Deborah threw herself wholeheartedly into motherhood while simultaneously pursuing her nursing career with remarkable dedication. In 2022, she welcomed her second child, and in 2023, her third, three children in quick succession. This rapid expansion of their family reflected Deborah's deep desire to be a mother and her commitment to creating the large, loving family she had always envisioned. But here's what makes Deborah's story even more remarkable. While raising three young children, she also experienced extraordinary success in her nursing career. After 15 years of dedicated service, Deborah was recognized with the Daisy Award, one of the most prestigious honors a nurse can receive. This award is given specifically to nurses who provide extraordinary compassionate care. It's not something that's handed out lightly. It's reserved for nurses who go above and beyond, who touch the lives of their patients in meaningful ways. Following this recognition, Deborah was promoted to nurse manager at Wellstone Regional Hospital in Jeffersonville. This was a significant achievement, representing years of hard work, clinical expertise, and proven leadership abilities. Her colleagues were effusive in their praise. Think about what Deborah was accomplishing here. She was raising three children under the age of 5. She was working full-time as a nurse. She was taking on additional responsibilities as a nurse manager, and she was doing all of this while maintaining the compassionate, caring approach that earned her recognition as an exceptional nurse. Her ability to balance these demanding roles showcased remarkable strength, organizational skills, and an unwavering commitment to both her family and her patients. More than anything, Deborah's devotion to her children was absolute. She showered them with love, attention, and guidance, approaching motherhood with the same dedication she brought to her nursing career. Friends and family could see how naturally she took to being a mother. It brought her immense fulfillment and joy. She was building the life she had always dreamed of, or so it seemed. But beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect life, something troubling was beginning to emerge. The stresses of raising three young children, while both parents maintained demanding careers, began to take a toll on Deborah and Taylor's marriage. What had once seemed like a solid partnership was showing signs of strain. The main issue was Taylor's growing suspicion and jealousy regarding Deborah's professional relationships. As Deborah advanced in her career and took on her role as nurse manager, she naturally developed closer working relationships with her colleagues. This is normal in any workplace, especially in healthcare settings where teams work closely together and rely on each other during stressful situations. But Taylor became increasingly uncomfortable with these professional relationships, particularly those with male colleagues. Taylor's trust issues seemed to stem from deeper insecurities and personal struggles that he had difficulty addressing in a healthy manner. He began interpreting innocent professional interactions as potential threats to their marriage. His paranoia started to consume his thoughts and behavior, creating a toxic atmosphere in their home. Deborah tried repeatedly to reassure Taylor that she was committed to their marriage and that her relationships with colleagues were purely professional. But her reassurances fell on deaf ears. The situation became particularly focused on one specific coworker. Taylor claimed that this coworker's name was saved in Deborah's phone as "my best friend Emily." Whether this was real or imagined, it became the focal point for Taylor's growing jealousy. He convinced himself that this coworker represented a romantic threat to their marriage, despite Deborah's attempts to explain the innocent nature of their professional relationship. As Taylor's suspicions intensified, his behavior transformed from supportive and loving to increasingly controlling and possessive. He began constantly monitoring Deborah's movements, questioning her about where she had been and whom she had spoken to. This created an atmosphere of tension and mistrust that was particularly difficult for Deborah, who valued open communication and honesty in relationships. This pattern is unfortunately common in cases of domestic violence. What often starts as jealousy and possessiveness gradually escalates into controlling behavior, isolation, and eventually physical violence. According to domestic violence experts, excessive jealousy is one of the warning signs of an abusive relationship. When a partner becomes obsessed with monitoring communications, movements, and relationships, it's a red flag that the situation could become dangerous. Friends and family members noticed that Deborah seemed increasingly stressed and withdrawn during this period. The vibrant, energetic woman they knew was still there, but something had changed. The pressure of managing Taylor's suspicions while caring for three young children and excelling in her career was taking its toll. Yet Deborah continued to try to make the marriage work, continued to reassure Taylor, continued to hope that things would improve. On the night of March 15th, 2025, the tensions that had been building in the Meyer household reached a devastating climax. What began as another argument about Taylor's suspicions would end with a brutal murder that shocked the community of Jeffersonville and left three young children without their mother. The confrontation started when Taylor attempted to access Deborah's computer to search through her personal messages. His behavior had become increasingly invasive as his jealousy consumed any rational thinking he might have once possessed. This wasn't about trust or communication anymore. This was about control, about Taylor's desperate need to validate his suspicions regardless of the invasion of Deborah's privacy. When Deborah caught Taylor trying to access her messages, she confronted him about this violation of her privacy. But instead of backing down or engaging in a constructive conversation, Taylor demanded that she hand over her cell phone directly so he could search through her communications. When Deborah refused to give him her phone, the confrontation escalated into physical violence. What happened next was brutal and horrifying. The argument turned into a physical struggle as Taylor attempted to forcibly take Deborah's phone from her hands. Deborah defended herself, punching Taylor in the face, but he overpowered her and wrestled the phone away. "I'm stronger than you," Taylor told her, as he gained control of the device. Those words reveal so much about the dynamic that had developed in their relationship. Physical intimidation had become part of how Taylor asserted control. With Deborah's phone in his possession, Taylor began to choke her. Deborah pleaded with him to stop the violence. "What are you going to do? Kill me?" she asked desperately. "You're going to hurt me and leave our kids with no parents?" Her words reflected her growing fear for her life and her concern for their 3 young children who were sleeping upstairs, unaware that their mother was fighting for her life just floors below them. Deborah tried to defend herself by hitting Taylor with a water bottle, but this only seemed to enrage him further. Taylor grabbed a wine bottle and struck Deborah repeatedly in the head until she lost consciousness. The brutal assault left her motionless on the floor. But even though Deborah was no longer conscious and posed absolutely no threat to him, Taylor's rage had not been satisfied. He left Deborah lying on the floor and went to the kitchen, where he retrieved what he later described to police as a big-ass kitchen knife, a long one. With this weapon in hand, he returned to where Deborah lay helpless and began to stab her repeatedly. The attack was savage and prolonged. Taylor stabbed Deborah approximately 40 times as she lay defenseless on their bedroom floor. 40 times. Let that sink in. This wasn't a crime of passion or a momentary loss of control. This was a sustained, brutal attack on a woman who was already unconscious, who posed no threat, who was the mother of his 3 children. The scene was gruesome, with blood splattered throughout the room. Even for experienced investigators who would later examine the crime scene, the extent of the violence was deeply disturbing. But Taylor's horrifying actions didn't end with the murder itself. After killing Deborah, he used her phone to take a photograph of her lifeless body lying on the floor. He then sent this photograph to the contact listed as "My best friend Emily," with a caption that read simply, "Your fault." According to Taylor's own statement to police, he hoped the image would traumatize the recipient. Think about the psychology behind this action. In Taylor's distorted thinking, Deborah's death wasn't the result of his own violent choices. Instead, he believed it was the inevitable consequence of what he perceived as her betrayal. He couldn't accept responsibility for his actions, so he sought to blame someone else, to make someone else suffer, to inflict trauma on a person he viewed as responsible for the destruction of his marriage. Taylor also sent messages to Deborah's friends and family members, informing them that he had killed her. These communications went out through text messages and family group chats, creating a horrifying situation for those who received them. Imagine being a family member or friend, opening your phone, and seeing a message from someone saying they've just murdered your loved one. The trauma of receiving such messages is immeasurable. While Taylor was sending these messages and photographs, the 3 children remained asleep upstairs in their home, unaware that their mother had been murdered and their father had become a killer. Officers would later find all 3 children, all under 5 years old, safe inside the home. The presence of these innocent children in the house during such a violent crime adds another layer of tragedy to an already devastating situation. One of Deborah's friends who received Taylor's disturbing messages immediately recognized the severity of the situation and contacted the Jeffersonville Police Department. This friend also drove to the Meyer home to provide assistance to responding officers, demonstrating quick thinking and bravery that potentially prevented even greater tragedy. When officers arrived at the house, they initially attempted to make contact by knocking on the front door, but received no response. Given the information they had received about the domestic disturbance and the photograph showing what appeared to be a body, police made the decision to breach the front door. But before they could force entry, the garage door suddenly opened and Taylor emerged from inside the house. Taylor's behavior toward the responding officers was immediately aggressive and non-compliant, forcing them to use control techniques to subdue him. The confrontation required additional backup from Indiana State Police. Once Taylor was safely in custody, officers entered the house and discovered the horrific scene inside. Deborah's body was found on the bedroom floor, surrounded by evidence of the brutal attack that had taken her life. Crime scene investigators worked meticulously to document every detail of the scene: the location of blood spatter, the position of Deborah's body, and the weapon used in the attack all provided crucial details about how the murder had been carried out. This physical evidence would later corroborate Taylor's own confession about the events of that night. At the police station, Taylor was questioned by investigators about his involvement in Deborah's murder. During these interviews, captured on body camera footage, Taylor provided detailed accounts of his actions and motivations. His willingness to confess and his matter-of-fact description of the violence revealed the extent of his psychological break from reality. He was formally arrested and charged with murder, then transported to the Clark County Detention Center, where he was held without bond. On March 18, 2025, just 3 days after murdering his wife, Taylor Meyer entered a plea of not guilty to the murder charge. His trial is scheduled to begin on July 15, 2025, where he will face the possibility of life in prison without parole for the brutal murder of Deborah. The not guilty plea might seem shocking given Taylor's detailed confession to police, but it's a legal strategy that allows his defense team to potentially argue diminished capacity or other mitigating factors. Regardless of the legal maneuvering, the facts of this case paint a clear picture of what happened on that tragic night in March. Deborah Meyer was 37 years old when her life was violently taken from her. She left behind 3 young children who will now grow up without their mother. Her colleagues at Wellstone Regional Hospital lost a valued leader and compassionate caregiver. Her friends and family lost a woman who brought light and love into their lives. The community of Jeffersonville lost a dedicated healthcare professional who spent 15 years caring for others. This case serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence. According to statistics from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, approximately 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. Every year, more than 10 million men and women experience domestic violence, and tragically, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe, intimate partner physical violence. The warning signs were there in Deborah and Taylor's relationship: excessive jealousy, controlling behavior, invasion of privacy, and emotional abuse. These behaviors often escalate to physical violence, and in the worst cases, they end in murder. If you or someone you know is experiencing these warning signs, please understand that help is available and you don't have to face this alone. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call 1-800-7997-233 or text START to 88788. Trained advocates are ready to provide support, information, and resources. Your call is confidential and anonymous. As we close this case, we remember Deborah not as a victim, but as a strong, vibrant woman who dedicated her life to caring for others. She was an exceptional nurse, a devoted mother, and a beloved friend. Her legacy lives on in the patients she cared for, the colleagues she mentored, and most importantly, in her 3 children. To Deborah's family, friends, and colleagues, our thoughts are with you during this incredibly difficult time. To our viewers, thank you for taking the time to learn about Deborah's story. If this case has affected you, please consider supporting organizations that work to prevent domestic violence and support survivors. Remember, behind every true crime case are real people with real families who are left to pick up the pieces. Let's honor Deborah's memory by working to create a world where domestic violence is no longer tolerated, where warning signs are recognized and acted upon, and where everyone feels safe in their own homes. If you found this video informative, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. More importantly, if you found this video because you're concerned about your own relationship or someone else's, please reach out for help. Your life is worth saving. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay safe.